Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. Here you will learn all things related to healing from divorce, mind, body, and spirit, so you can create a beautiful new life filled with happiness. I'm Rachel Ruby, author of Divorce to Bliss, divorce coach, speaker, and attorney, and I'm so glad you found me here. Hello and welcome to the Divorce to Bliss podcast. I'm Rachel Ruby, and I have a treat for you today. My guest is Dan Aaron, and we are going to be talking about the vagus nerve. Dan is a bodyworker and a rehabilitation expert, and he specializes in helping complex chronic pain sufferers who have not been helped by conventional treatments in order to get their lives back. Dan's life changed when he broke his neck in a surfing accident, and after being misdiagnosed and dismissed by medical doctors, he took his recovery into his own hands and completely got himself out of pain. He realized he had a gift that he could use to help others do the same. Dan uses a diverse skill set of modalities and his own methodology to get to the root causes of people's pain and teach them how to heal and change their lives. And much of this comes from learning how to be in touch with the vagus nerve. So stay tuned with us today. And in the end, there's going to be a great little example of some things you can do at home to help yourself and really get in touch with your vagus nerve. Welcome to the podcast, Dan. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So let's start with the million-dollar question, of course. What is the vagus nerve? So many people have never heard of that. So enlighten us.
Yeah, so the vagus nerve, it's the longest nerve in your body. Vagus actually means wandering. And what it does is it connects your gut to your brain. And the reason we say gut to the brain, not brain to the gut, is because 80% of the nerves are actually transferring signals from the gut to the brain. Only 20% go from the brain to the gut. And this is really important for gut health, the gut-brain axis, for mood, neurotransmitters. But what the vagus nerve really does is it brings your nervous system out of fight or flight and back into parasympathetic. And so anytime that you are calm and relaxed, your vagus nerve is activated. And what it does is it basically tells your body to digest food, absorb nutrients, repair cells, regenerate. And so it's really important for calmness, for nervous system regulation. And if you want to live, quality life that's full of joy and happiness, and you want to just be calm, the vagus nerve is absolutely crucial to understand. It's crucial to know how to activate it so that you can live your best life.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So I had heard of the vagus nerve before, but I never, until I met you at a meeting we were at, I didn't really know the role that it played. So how is it connected to our emotional states and to healing?
Yeah, so emotions are pretty much transferred through the body, a lot of times through the vagus nerve. The things we feel in our body are transmuted through our body. And a lot of our different emotions correspond to different organs that we experience. So the liver a lot of times will feel anger, the kidneys will feel fear, the lungs will feel grief, and the vagus nerve is connected to every single organ. That's connected to your heart. It manages heart rate. So if you're really angry or really upset, then your heart's going to be faster. That the vagus nerve turning off and some sympathetic nerves activating to make your heart rate go up. So to connect to your liver, to your stomach, to your kidneys, to your intestines. And so we feel emotions in different parts of our body. And I've worked on a lot of different people. I've seen where emotions are stored in our body. And a lot of them come from the organs where the vagus nerve is connected to. So everything we feel transmutes through the vagus nerve in some way to the rest of our body.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I know also that when I went through my divorce and the end of my marriage, that not so much an organ, but I felt a lot of that emotional pain in my hip, which is, a bone, but in just that whole area. And I didn't realize at the time that was coming from my emotions and what I was feeling. I just thought I had a problem. So I was trying to do whatever I could to take care of that problem. And then ironically, I went on a trip to Thailand with my daughter. And when I got off the plane, I kid you not, this sounds so not true, but it is so true. My pain was gone. For 3 weeks, I did not have a single pain in my hip. And the night before I was supposed to come back to the States, it started aching like never before, worse than ever. And I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to fly, 20 plus hours and get back? And anyway, so it wasn't an organ, but I think at the same time, my pain was being felt in a specific area. And I didn't know anything about the vagus nerve. So I love that it applies to healing. And yeah, I mean, how does the vagus nerve help us regulate ourselves after we go through something so intense, like an intense emotional experience like divorce?
Yeah, I mean, the vagus nerve, once again, the role of the vagus nerve is to calm your body, and the vagus nerve is activated when we feel safe. But if we do not feel safe or in a state of threat or stress, a divorce would definitely qualify as that, with all the changes, life changes that come with that. So what happens is when we experience a life event that brings immense stress, the vagus nerve will shut off. And what our body does when our vagus nerve is not activated is it sends energy to our muscles, to our fight or flight muscles, our legs, even our hips, our upper body, to try to fight off the danger or run away. And so what happens is we find ourselves with a lot of muscular tension. We can find ourselves with tension in our joints, pain in our joints, and just pain in general. So the vagus nerve basically activates when we are safe. But if we're going through something that's prolonged, then our vagus nerve can become inactive for a long period of time. When I work with people who have been in chronic pain for years or months, they've been in that state for a long time. Their body doesn't even know what rest and digesting feels like anymore. So we first have to get them back into that state to remind them that, hey, you are safe. What happened before is now over. You can relax now. And if someone is going through a stressful life event, I'm really big on you have to amp up your self-care significantly, because you're not going to feel safe a lot of times. You're going to be in a dispute with your partner, and that is going to be stressful. When you start arguing over things, having to negotiate who gets the house, who gets this, who gets that, it's going to be really stressful. So in between those periods of times, it's really important to have some sort of technique, something you can do to get yourself back into rest and digest, at least temporarily, just so your body can do some sort of recovery, just so your body can digest food again and make sure you're getting the resources you need, just so you can figure out how you can get some sleep, or at least sleep better than you were before. I imagine there's a lot of sleepless nights with that. I've never been through it, but I imagine. So it's really important to understand how this all relates and how physiology and the nervous system works. And if you can understand the role the vagus nerve plays, then you can find ways, even in the most stressful times of your life, you can find ways to get yourself back into a calm place so that you can function and be able to retain your function and still be a little more yourself than maybe you would be if you weren't doing that stuff.
Wow. I mean, that is so powerful. That's really an empowering tool, again, that I think a lot of people don't know about. So I'm just curious, when you're working with somebody, like you said, maybe their vagus nerve has been compromised, dormant for such a long time because they've been living in this fight or flight state. And gosh, I mean, for those of you who have been there, that must be a horrible way to live. I mean, I've been there for short periods of time, but I know there are many people who have lots of things going on in their lives that force them to not, to be in that fight or flight state. So, and I'm sure it's very different from person to person, but you talk about, getting that vagus nerve stimulated again so you can start doing or feeling better and not being in the fight or flight. How long does something like that even take if you have been there for such a long period of time? Or is there any rhyme or reason to that?
Well, it depends. It depends on the technique and how powerful it is, and also what the person is going through and how stressful or triggering that thing may be. For me, working with people in chronic pain, most people who come into my sessions are very stressed out, and they can be stressed out because they don't know how to manage stress well, or they're stressed out because they're in pain, and pain brings more stress. So sometimes it can just be like a downward spiral. They're stressed out, which leads to pain. The pain leads to more stress. The stress leads to more stress. So it's like just downwards.
Catch 22. Exactly. It's like a circular. Yeah.
So I had to find a way to, how do I get because a lot of times these people didn't even know they're stressed. They reached a point where the stress became so normal that it was just a part of who they were. And
do they at that point, do they think in their minds that it's not stress, it's my body, like my body's failing, or it's a physical thing?
They think it's a physical thing. Like, you'd be surprised how many times I've asked someone in chronic pain that I work with if they were stressed out, and they told me no.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I can literally see in their body and the way and how much tension they have that you are incredibly stressed, but they just have no idea. It's been their norm for so long, and it's been a norm for 10 years, sometimes 3 years. And when you're in a state for so long, like it just becomes normal. So I had to find a way to, how do I penetrate through that? How do I get them back into parasympathetic, into rest and digest, so they could actually feel a difference? And how can I do it quickly? Because I don't have all day. I don't want to waste the whole session just doing breathing stuff. There's a lot of times other things I want to do with them as well. So came up, but over time, like with trial and error, I figured out some techniques that can get people into parasympathetic very, very fast. Oftentimes within 5 minutes. And when they feel the difference, they are absolutely blown away. They're like, wow, I was stressed. They're like, wow, I didn't realize it. I'm like, yeah, this is what parasympathetic is supposed to feel like. And you can just see like the realization of like, wow. And so,
would you agree? I think that obviously you're going to say yes, I assume, but when there's so many people in this world who are, like you said, they're in so much pain, chronic pain, a lot, and think they're not stressed out. We're really not, at least here in America, we're not taught that how much power our minds have over our bodies and our emotions, and how we can really learn to control them, like what you teach people. I mean, we're just not taught that. And I think growing up, at least I was always taught like, oh, something hurt, you go to the doctor. And so many people, they have this pain or that pain, they go and they're on drugs, and then they need another drug. And then, and nothing, I know drugs are really necessary in many situations, but I also feel that when you are in such chronic pain, or really anything for that matter, you're having, like you said, you're just emotionally distraught or mentally challenged, whatever it is. I feel like before you turn to the medicine, the Western medicine, unless you absolutely have to, and the doctor says you have to do this or else, I really think that there are other ways to get in touch with your body, because that's really what it comes down to. I see, at least when I talk to my clients, a lot of people just are not in touch with their bodies at all and have no idea that they can facilitate changes like this within. Do you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, the medical system is not really designed to truly help people in chronic pain, to give people medications to try to manage it. And they go a whole rabbit hole of why they do that and how that benefits them from a business perspective to not cure people, and make it illegal to say that you can. But there's so many things that can be done. And because pain is not something that happens with age, it's not something that's inevitable. It's something that happens because something in the body is out of balance. And it could be from habits. I see the way people sit contributes to their pain, how often they sit.
Right.
Yeah, what their routines are, the positions they sleep in, that matters too. The level of stress they have. There's of course injuries as well. There's so many things that happen, but my philosophy has always been, if it happens within the body, then it can be resolved within the body. Because the body doesn't want to be in pain. And pain on a scientific level is just your brain sensing something's wrong in your body and sending a signal of threat to that area to warn you to watch out and be careful. That's basically what pain is for. The purpose of pain is to disincentivize you from moving a certain part of your body in order to prevent further injury or risk injury. And so but I think the problem happens is, when people feel pain, it's especially if they don't know what to do and they don't understand what their body is telling them, which is most people, and they haven't learned any tools of what they can do about it. It can lead to this place of helplessness, frustration, powerlessness, because you feel like you're trapped in the circumstance. And then you go see a doctor and they don't give you any hope. They just want to put you on medications that have side effects. And so it can lead to this very disempowering cycle. And then once people are in pain for a while, then, immensely emotionally, they start downward spiraling and start going to some sort of downward rabbit hole where they start feeling hopeless. Their philosophy of life changes. They're no longer as optimistic. And so it really can be very destructive. And so, we're not taught that. And this is like what I do. A lot byproduct of what I do is pretty much teaching people self-awareness and empowering them. Mm-hmm. And when they realize that there are tools and that healing is possible, it's a huge shift for them. Sometimes they can't even make that shift because they've just been in it for so long and been indoctrinated into what they've been told for so long. But for the people that do see it, it's a complete shift. It's almost mind-blowing to them. It's like access to a different reality. And
right.
But those people, when they really grab onto it and they really see what is possible, they are amazed at everything. It shows how, no matter where you are in life, no matter how bad things are, things can change in an instant. And all it takes is just one moment, one event, one moment of realization. All of a sudden, everything's different. And so I think, when people learn the power that they have and the way they can influence their body and they can understand their body, it pretty much brings a power that is very unique, because it means that you now hold the pen in your hand of what your health will be like. And when you can we have the tools to handle almost any health issue that comes your way, then you will become so resilient. You have so much ability, to manage your health, determine how long you live, make sure that you're going to be healthy for your family, your children, your partner. And it brings an incredible amount of optimism and joy that everyone will feel. So it's incredibly important to learn the power of your body, what it can do.
Amen. I love that. And I agree 100%, because I think when I went through, I was always an intuitive my whole life, but when I went through my divorce journey and my healing journey from divorce, I checked out a lot of things like this that really empower you, like breath work and excuse me, and my meditation, and I already ate healthy, but really changed what I put into my body, and stopped no sugar, no alcohol, no fast food, no meat except very little fish. But the things that I did to change my diet, to change what I do, really allowed me to take the power back and to control my healing. Because when those things within my body, like the hips stopped hurting and, the stomach stopped getting sick because I was so stressed out, and all those things stopped because of the little tweaks and changes that I made and worked very hard on, I noticed that all I had to do was to just focus on creating my joyous life, because nothing was holding me back. And I went through this incredible awakening. But what I do love right now is, and at least here in Southern California, I see a lot of preschools and kindergartens are teaching children how to do breath work, how to do yoga, how to kind of quietly go inside themselves and use their imaginations to calm themselves down. Which, oh my goodness, why weren't we taught these things when we were younger? I mean, I guess it was so woo-woo back then. It was like, oh, the hippies do those things. But I don't know. I love that it's kind of becoming more the norm now, more prevalent in society, because the more people who learn about this and work like what you do it's just incredible how you can be the best version of you if you know how to regulate yourself, regulate your systems and your organs and all of the things in your body that could lead to pain or depression or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And that's amazing. I don't really know what's going on in preschools, but if that's true, that's incredible. And I definitely was not taught nervous system regulation. I grew up in a very high stress family. My mom was very unregulated, and I grew up with a lot of anxiety, a lot of emotional tumultuousness, where worried about saying the wrong thing that would upset my mom and then I'll get grounded. And so I grew up, like most of my life, had a lot of anxiety. And I had anxiety for most of my life, pretty much up until I broke my neck. And I believe that my anxiety was actually mechanically weakening my neck and actually made it vulnerable to break. And it wasn't until I was dealing with that, when I was trying to rehab my neck, I had what was called TMJ, and which is temporal mandibular joint disorder. It's where people have that popping, clicking in their jaw. I had that my whole life. And when I was trying to rehab my neck, I was misdiagnosed for 22 months, and I was kind of out of my own. I didn't have any more money, so I was trying to rehab it myself. I did not know it was broken. And I learned that my TMJ was actually pulling my neck out of alignment. And it was actually worsening my rehab. And so I had to figure out how to get rid of the TMJ is rooted in anxiety. And so I had to figure out how do I get rid of my anxiety in order to get rid of my TMJ. So I read a book by Dale Carnegie. It was called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. Yeah, I Googled best books for anxiety. It was the first book that came up. I read that book, gave me a 3-step process for dealing with anxiety and the fear of the worst case outcome. That book reduced my anxiety by 70% in 2 weeks. And then I had to learn TMJ releases to get rid of all these, the tightness that had been accumulated over 24 years. And then once I did that, and I created an exercise that pretty much connected my neck in with my diaphragm, my pelvic floor, into my entire body. And that was the first time I felt what it was like to be in a true parasympathetic state, a true calm state. And it was a mind-blowing experience because I never experienced it before in my life. And that was where I learned the power of nervous system regulation. And unknowingly at the time, it was a vagus nerve activating exercise as well. And that was the first time where I learned emotional regulation, where I learned how to manage my nervous system and keep myself in a calm place. And it was so surprising just how much stress accumulated over the course of a day, just a day. And just seeing how when I would do that, the state I would go back into afterward. And it was just wow, I was that stressed today. Wow, what happened? So it was, yeah. And so I learned at 24 that kids are learning it at 5 years old, 7 years old. That's incredible. It's going to bring some really self-aware humans. It's going to change everything. It's going to change how their brain develops, how they see the world. It's going to be really, really powerful. It's going to be really good for them.
For sure. And oh my goodness, I'm so sorry as a child you had to go through all that. And the stress that so many parents put on their children is just, it's really, really horrendous and causes problems for those children because they don't know. I mean, like you said, you had to be careful of what you said. So you couldn't speak your truth and holding back your truth like that when you're a kid and then just growing up and going into adulthood and thinking that you can't speak your truth. I mean, that's huge. I mean, you can't progress in life in a positive and beneficial way if you can't be yourself. And so I'm sorry that you had to go through that. I know a lot of people who have gone through similar things, as when they were raised by their parents, that really held them back emotionally. And I think the fact that you were able to figure it out is huge. And like you said, yes, I think people, I think I see people nowadays, especially like I mentioned, the young children, they're really starting to teach these tools to young people, which is wonderful. And I hope in time too that more people grow up more self-aware, because it allows you to really truly live life. And I also love that from your experience and what happened within yourself, you were able to go out and help others. So that's a beautiful thing. And is there anything else that you want to share with us about the vagus nerve before we get into something a little fun?
Well, adding to your comment, it is difficult going through that. People grow up with parents who have trauma, and their parents have trauma. It gets passed through generations, and they don't know any better because it's so unconscious that just they have an outburst, something happens. And, I had ADHD growing up, and if I was diagnosed by a doctor today was a kid, they may have said I had autism because I matched similar symptoms. Mm-hmm. And so you combine that with a lot of some of the childhood emotional trauma. When I was at the beginning of college, 18 years old, my social anxiety was so severe, I could not hold conversation with people. I would literally freeze up in conversation. I had to learn social skills in college. And because I just did not pick up those skills as a kid, and for a lot of different reasons. So it's such a simple tweak, for parents to not create these issues with their children. It's really about the parents getting in touch with themselves before they have children and becoming self-aware, because like you said, we all have trauma. And even if we don't personally have trauma, we carry our trauma from generations past. So I was adopted, and I know that both of my adoptive parents had a lot of trauma in their lives. I know that now. But I was raised by two pretty connected. Well, I don't know that they were so connected with their bodies. And my dad was very connected with his mind. But so it's very different, but it's kind of, I've always looked back and think about how I ended up how I am because of the actual blood lineage trauma that is probably within me, and any trauma that I may have had growing up. I think it would be a great idea to have some kind of a mandatory, I know you can't do that, but a seminar that you take if you want to have kids. I mean, yeah.
And part of that is fixing yourself, or at least recognizing, I carry this trauma, and when I get upset, I yell or I scream, or I don't want to hear certain things. And, if you project that all into your children, you're just raising another version of yourself, which is difficult and sad.
Absolutely. And I go deep on this too, but what a lot of people don't realize when they become parents, that being a parent is a job of leadership. It's literally leadership. And if a lot of people, who become parents, they've never been in a leadership role before. They've been an employee their whole life. They may not have done any sort of managing type of job before. They may not have owned a business. And so now you're tasked with leading this person, and you haven't been in any sort of situation that's required to challenge you in order to become a leader. And so now you're dealing with a little kid who's now going to mimic you and pick up on every little thing you do. And it can be a recipe for disaster. And everything that we speak and we communicate is a projection. It's always a projection of how we're feeling, whether it's from love, whether it's from care, whether it's from anger, whether it's from hurt. Everything that we communicate, me communicating right now, is a projection. It's a projection of how we feel. And if we have never worked on ourselves, if we have never developed any sort of self-love, we have never become self-aware, then we could unconsciously cause harm without realizing it. A lot of people don't even know the difference between speaking from love and speaking from a place of hurt. They don't know the difference. They think they're just speaking how they speak, and they don't realize where it's coming from. So,
right.
So, vagus nerve is one of the ways to start becoming self-aware, because we can start to become aware of your inner world. You can start to be able to choose how you come off, how you communicate, what you are giving to other people. And that gives you better control and influence over outcomes with the people in your life that matter.
Yeah. Well said. Love it. So let's get to our special treat. I would love for you to show us some exercises that we can do ourselves at home in the comfort of our own homes to really get in touch with our vagus nerve, and let's do it. I'm excited.
Yeah. So the amazing thing about the vagus nerve is that you can activate it at any time. You could activate it while you're sitting in your desk chair in your office. You can do it at home. You can do it while sitting on a bus, while waiting in line at a grocery store. Like it can be so easy to do. You don't need to have to go into a separate room and get on a yoga mat, and make a whole separate time for it. You can do it right here, right now. So where the vagus nerve starts, it starts in the back of your head near your ear, and then it goes down your neck, and then it goes down, my phone's not going to show, but it goes down to your heart, and then it goes down your esophagus, then it spreads to all your major organs, spreads to your liver, to your stomach, to your spleen, to your intestines, and then it goes down to your kidneys, and then it goes down, and then they call it a different nerve, but it continues down into your groin region. And so there's many ways that we can activate the vagus nerve, just through the skin and just through stimulating some certain places. So one place to start, if we're just doing something real simple, you can just take your fingers, put it around your ears, and you can just very gently, very lovingly, just slide your hands down where your carotid is, sternocleidomastoid, and just down into, collarbone. And you can just go back and forth. The vagus nerve is connected to the ear. And then you can just, start working that. And what you'll notice is that you'll start calming down immediately. And there's also another nerve that goes through the neck called the phrenic nerve. That nerve connects directly to your diaphragm. So just by rubbing your neck, you start stimulating deep breathing.
That is relaxing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And so simple.
Yeah. So simple.
Yeah. You can take your fingers, you can put them at the base of your skull, right along, right where your neck kind of meets your skull. And you can just push into that and push up a little bit. And that one is really powerful.
That feels amazing. I held a lot of tension in my neck. Also, I need a better pillow. So that one feels really good.
This one's really good too for many reasons. One, it is where the vagus nerve starts, but also if people who spend a lot of time on computers and poor posture, this area is really compressed. So
because we're doing this, right, and we're doing this, really hunching.
Yeah, especially if a lot of people, their computer screens are too low. I always recommend people's computer screens should be at eye level. That way, it encourages good posture to look at the screen. Because a lot of times people hunch over, and then they might even have to tilt their head up like that. That just compresses everything in there, compresses the vagus nerve. So even posture in your neck position, your neck alignment, can actually contribute to vagus nerve dysfunction. And that can unconsciously lead to more stress. There's also a good area. Yeah. There's also a really good area just right below the collarbone. Just right. I kind of go just right. Yeah. The vagus nerve has two sides. So it goes down and it goes down collarbone. So even just work on this area right there. It's always best to be very gentle and loving with touch, rather than trying to be forceful. Because it is a nerve, so you want to be very gentle. But even just having, you just put your hand across, like you can feel the body start to calm down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Oh wow!
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
You want to do some more?
Sure. It's up to you. Whatever.
Okay.
I'll think they're wonderful.
There's a lot of things we can do.
Okay.
There are,
Let's do a few more.
you want to do some weird ones?
Sure.
Okay. We'll do some weird
I
ones.
like weird. Okay.
Okay. So what we're going to do is, we're going to move our eyes in a figure 8, and we're going to go basically, move bigger in the screen. It's going to be like that, but you're going to use your peripheral vision and go as wide as you can around. So we're going to do 5 figure 8s one way and 5 figure 8s the other way. The key is you're not supposed to move your neck at all. So make sure your neck is packed in a good position. And you're just going to go.
That's kind of uncomfortable a little bit.
This one's at least you're laying down. It's weird at first, but it's surprisingly powerful once you finish.
Oh, wow.
This one you feel more when you finish. It's not as comfortable when you do it, but it's really powerful.
And what does that do?
So our eyes have a huge influence on our nervous system. And because our eyes are one of our main ways our body takes in information. And when people get really stressed out, we start going into tunnel vision. We start focusing on the danger. We're so hyper-focused on something. And there have been studies that have shown that when we become hyper-focused on something, our pupils actually converge. And so our eye placement actually, our nervous system is actually influenced by our eye position and vice versa. And when people are in a parasympathetic state, their eyes they actually diverge and become more focused on the periphery. We're able to take in nature more and take in our environment more. But when we're so hyper-focused, we're not thinking about anything outside what we're focused on, because we have a threat, we have something we need to deal with. So just by moving our eyes and focusing on the periphery, it actually calms the nervous system immensely. And
wow.
And if we're, so if we are, if we're just stuck in a stress loop and we don't realize it, this exercise can be really powerful because it signals to the body that, hey, we're safe. And then everything starts to tone down.
Wow. There's so many parts of the body that are all interrelated, and it's just amazing to hear about how doing certain little things like this can affect you in a big way.
Yeah.
So to get another
absolutely.
one for us?
Yeah. This one is more simple. It's more for breathing. And so what you're going to do, you're going to plug one nostril and you're going to breathe in through, one nostril. And the cue I always like to use is imagine you're smelling a flower. Imagine you're smelling a flower. You're smelling something really nice, because when we smell things, we breathe in deeper. Sometimes I'll see people who are really stressed breathing or stressed good. Just try to do that. Just imagine like you're smelling a nice cake. You're smelling some flowers, and really take it in. And what happens is when you plug one nostril, your diaphragm has to work harder to expand and pull air through that smaller cavity. So it leads to a deeper breath. The vagus nerve gets activated, and then you feel calmer.
Yeah. I just did 2 podcasts on breath work with a wonderful woman who you may know, Linda Vazine. And it's really interesting, again, how so many of these things are connected, right? To becoming self-aware, to knowing ourselves, and not just, hey, I feel hungry, but what do I feel hungry for that's going to satisfy my body? Not the hamburger and French fries, but that's going to give me energy and make me stronger and make me able to focus better. It's kind of that same type of thing where here the breath work and, the eye movements or the rubbing, the touching, all those things just really kind of mesh together to help you to understand yourself better. And then when you understand yourself better and you become self-aware, you can listen and know exactly what your body needs, which is an amazing place to be. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this has been so wonderful and such great information. Thank you so much. You're such an expert. I am going to, for those of you who are listening on the audio channels, in the show notes, I will have all the contact information where you can reach Dan if you want to reach out, especially if you're having some problems with chronic pain. And please reach out to him and let him help you. And also those who are watching, it will be in the show notes as well, and also on the screen at the end here. So, Dan, thank you for being with me today. This has really been fascinating. And I think getting to know your vagus nerve is not just something that's cool, but it's something that's imperative to your journey to self-awareness and being able to heal from trauma like divorce.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're very welcome. I always like to say body awareness is a part of self-awareness because everything happens within your body. So if you don't have the body awareness, then you're missing a crucial piece of self-awareness.
Very true. Very true. Well, thank you for being here. It was really wonderful to chat with you, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And for those of you who love this episode or any of the other episodes here, the Divorce to Bliss podcast, please do me the honor of subscribing, liking, sharing, commenting. All of those little things that just take a few seconds for you to do really help me to know that you are enjoying these great topics that I look far and wide to find, and these wonderful guests like Dan who come on and talk about all of the different ways that you can help yourself when you're healing from divorce or any kind of trauma or difficulties in your life. So thank you for being here, and let me know you love it.